How's it going, everybody? C-RadTV back here in another video. So, of course, the final week of the NFL season is here and upon us, which means it's time for the NFL Week 18 picks. Yes, these picks are later than normal. Usually I have them up by like Tuesday or Wednesday, but because of the events of the Monday night game and, just waiting to see what happens with the AFC #1 seed and all that stuff, I wanted to wait until we knew for sure what was going to happen there after the Bills and Bengals game, was called off and declared a no contest after the tragic events of what happened Monday night with Damar Hamlin after he had a cardiac arrest act on the field and had to be rushed to the hospital. I will say this though, I want to give a huge shout out to the Bills medical staff and the Bengals medical staff and everybody and all the doctors and healthcare professionals at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Hats off to them because Damar Hamlin's actually made some great progress. Last I checked, he now has the breathing tube. He no longer has the breathing tube. He's breathing 100% on his own power. The tube has now been taken out of him. And he actually had a Zoom video call with the Buffalo Bills earlier today. So that's actually pretty cool to see, and of course, the first thing Damar asked the doctors was who won the Monday night game, and the doctors respond saying that Damar won the game of life. So, yeah. Okay. But, yeah, I'll talk about the #1 seed there once we get to it. But, yeah. But anyway, though, the picks are upon us. So, of course, for last week's picks, I did not include the Cincinnati Buffalo game. Since that game was declared a no contest, that game will not count toward the final picks record. So, in turn, my record last week went to 11-4. Which means my record this year goes to 163-90-2. Of course, last week, the New York Giants clinched a wild card spot last week, and the Buccaneers wrapped up the NFC South. And 5 teams were eliminated, and those being the Carolina Panthers, Washington Commanders, New Orleans Saints, New York Jets, and the Las Vegas Raiders. So that means only 5 imposters remain, and only 3 playoff spots are up for grabs this weekend. So anyway, and of course, but there are a lot of playoff implications in this game. Here's how the picks are going to go, because I have the schedule on the screen, obviously, but I'm not going to do it in the order each game is. So for this week, all the games of least importance will go first, and the games with all the playoff implications and tank bowl implications will go last. So anyway, with that all said and out of the way, let's jump right into the picks. Alright, so the first game we're going to go over here, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons playing in Atlanta. Of course, Tampa Bay, they locked up the NFC South. They're guaranteed the 4th seed no matter what. They're either going to play Philadelphia or Dallas in the wild card round and at home. So, more than likely, Tom Brady's probably going to rest for this game, and a few of Tampa Bay's starters. Tampa Bay's probably going to rest a good chunk of their starters for this game against Atlanta. So, this game really means nothing. It's really just a game for bragging rights on the line, and you know what? I'm actually gonna take the Atlanta Falcons over Tampa Bay in a game that doesn't matter. I have mainly Atlanta because Arthur Smith is gonna probably be coaching for his job Sunday, because there have been a couple rumors that Arthur Smith could get fired by the Falcons. I don't think he will, but there's always that chance. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Falcons to beat the Buccaneers in this one, 23-22. I got Atlanta by 1 in that one. Now to our next game here. It is time to prepare for Tank Bowl. So this Tank Bowl will see the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints playing in New Orleans there. So yeah, this game, it's 2 teams eliminated. Just bragging rights on the line. Another meaningless game for divisional rights. Just the bragging rights on the line. Of course, the Saints, their first round pick belongs to the Eagles, so the Saints are just trying to make that pick lose as much value as possible. And I'm actually going to take the Panthers over the Saints in this one, mainly because, New Orleans has been kind of a bit of an injured, mangled mess. But for Carolina, Steve Wilkes is coaching for his job Sunday, because we don't know if Steve Wilkes has got done enough to get the head coaching gig in Carolina or not. I mean, there have been the rumors that Carolina was in the running to potentially get Jim Harbaugh from the University of Michigan, which I don't think Harbaugh's taking a coaching job. Jim Harbaugh has already said that he has no intentions of taking an NFL job and wants to stay in Michigan. We'll have to wait and see how that goes, but yeah, be honest though, I feel like Steve Wilkes should be the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. I think Wilkes has done enough to earn an opportunity. Like, the players love him, the Panthers front office and all the executives like Steve Wilkes. Like, the entire city of Charlotte, I've heard, likes Steve Wilkes. Plus, Wilkes has connections, since he used to be the defensive coordinator for the Panthers back when Ron Rivera was there. I feel like Wilkes should be the head coach. I feel like if the Panthers don't keep Steve Wilkes as head coach, I think they're making him bad. I think they make a mistake if they don't keep Wilkes. But yeah, I'm taking Carolina over New Orleans in this one, 22-21. I got the Panthers by 1 over the Saints. So there we go there. So our next game, we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals playing in Cincinnati. This game, normally this game would have nothing to play for because Cincinnati's locked up the AFC North. Because with the Monday night game being postponed, Cincinnati's claimed the division by default based off win percentage over the Ravens. And Cincinnati's guaranteed the 3rd seed. But there's a bit of a clusterfuck here with this whole situation here. Because with this Baltimore game, if Cincinnati wins this game, then Cincinnati will have a home playoff game. Because if Cincinnati wins, then Cincinnati will play the Ravens in the wild card round next week. But if Baltimore wins and the LA Chargers lose, the Ravens would be the 5th seed. And the Chargers would be the 6th seed. And the Bengals would play the Chargers. In Cincinnati, of course. But if Baltimore wins and the Chargers both win as well, then the AFC wildcard meeting between Cincinnati and Baltimore next week, the site of that game will be determined off a fucking coin flip. And honestly, I'm just going to say it here. The fact that the Bengals can win the division and not host a playoff game because of a fucking coin flip is fucking stupid. That is one of the dumbest ideas I've heard the NFL do in a goddamn long-ass time. Because I guess for the NFL, seeding everybody off win percentage and expanding the playoffs to 8 seeds to solve this clusterfuck of a mess, I guess NFL looked at it and was like, nope, that makes too much sense. Can't have that. We gotta make this as confusing as fucking possible. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if the Bengals end up winning the division and have to play in Baltimore next week, that's fucking retarded. Like, the Bengals get fucked over by a coin flip. Like, didn't we have the fans fucking bitch last year about the coin toss to sign overtime games? And now that crowd is back again. Congratulations, NFL. You learned fucking nothing, you dumbasses. Oh my fucking God. Can Roger Goodell fucking step down already? Jesus Christ. I'm losing fucking brain cells just trying to comprehend Goodell's bullshit. Like, holy fucking God, my God. Man. But yeah, this game, though, I feel like Cincinnati will do everyone a favor and not let this become a clusterfuck mess, because I think the Bengals will beat the Ravens. I have the Bengals winning 22-19, so give me Cincinnati by 3, and Cincinnati will rightfully host a playoff game against Baltimore next Sunday. Okay, now to the other end of this mess, we have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos playing in Denver. LA's already locked into a playoff spot. The Chargers are just playing for seeding at this point. The Denver Broncos, they're trying to make sure that first round pick they have, they gave to Seattle, loses as much value as possible. But the Chargers still playing for seeding. I'm going to take the Chargers in this one, 24-21 over Denver. Give me the Chargers by 3 over Denver in this one. And then to our next game. Our next game is also a bit of a clusterfuck mess. Because it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders playing in Las Vegas. For the Chiefs, they're in a situation now because of the Monday night game being declared no contest, where now the Chiefs control the number 1 seed. So the Chiefs win, they'll road to Super Bowl 57, goes through Kansas City. Like, the Chiefs clinched number 1 seed with the winner Buffalo lost. And they would clinch home field throughout the AFC playoffs until the AFC Championship game. Because if Kansas City is the number 1 seed, the AFC Championship game will be at a neutral site instead of Arrowhead. If Buffalo becomes the number 1 seed, then the AFC Championship game will be in Buffalo. So yeah, because I guess just deciding the seeding off win percentage made too much fucking sense for the NFL. And we just have to make this as confusing as fucking possible. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna end up with the worst case scenario, and I think the Chiefs will beat the Raiders on Saturday. I have the Chiefs 22-19 over Las Vegas. Chiefs by 3. God help us all. And now, for the last of our meaningless implication games, it is time to prepare for the Super Tank Bowl for the first overall pick. So, here are the Tank Bowl stipulations here on the screen. So, for Houston, it's very simple for the first overall pick. Lose to that shit show in Indianapolis, and the first overall pick is yours. For Chicago, they need a loss, and they need Houston to win to clinch the first overall pick. So, the Houston Texans are playing the Indianapolis Colts. The Chicago Bears are playing host to the Minnesota Vikings. And the Bears, Justin Fields is out as he's injured. He'll be out for this game. Nathan Peterman is starting the game. The fact that Nathan Peterman is starting the game knows that Chicago is fully tanking. Like on paper, Minnesota should blow Chicago out. But since Minnesota is still playing for technically the 2 seed, because Minnesota can clinch the 2 seed with a win and a 49ers loss. But on paper, Minnesota should blow out Chicago just off the fact that the Bears are starting Nate Peterman alone. But I feel like just because the Minnesota Vikings can't blow anybody out this year since 11 of their 12 wins have been in one-score games, I feel like the Vikings are going to fucking play down to the Bears and make it more competitive than it should be. Minnesota should blow Chicago out, but I feel like the Vikings win that game 21-19, Minnesota by 2. So, as for Houston and Indianapolis, Indianapolis has lost 6 straight since they won their first game under Jeff Saturday against the Raiders. They've lost 6 straight since the Colts have been an absolute shit show. Like, regardless of what happens, Jeff Saturday's not going to be back with the Colts next year. But I got the Houston Texans winning that game because I believe Lovie Smith is playing for his job Sunday. So Lovie Smith's going to try and make a strong case about why he should remain the head coach next year, because there have been rumors that Lovie Smith might go one and done with the Texans. Because keep in mind, Lovie Smith wasn't even the Texans' original option for head coach, because the Texans originally wanted to hire Josh McCown until that Brian Flores racism suit came out last year, which then forced Houston to hire Lovie Smith to have good PR reasons. But I feel like Houston's going to fire Lovie Smith. But I feel like Lovie's going to do everything he can to keep his job. And I have the Texans winning against Indianapolis 26-19. I got Houston by 7 over Indianapolis. This time there will be no ties. There will be a winner this time. So yeah, with that, I think Chicago is going to end up with the first overall pick. But Texan fans, even if Houston ends up with a second overall pick, Houston could still get Bryce Young at number 2. Because Chicago won't take a quarterback at number 1. The Chicago would probably take Will Anderson number 1. Like, the only way the Texans don't end up with Bryce Young at number 2 is if Chicago trades down from number 1. But yeah, that's how I think Tank Bowl goes. I think Houston's going to beat Indy, and I think Chicago will end up getting the first overall pick. That's how I think it will go. Of course, now to our next game that has some meaning too is the AFC South clash on Saturday night. Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars, both teams playing each other. Winner gets the AFC South in a home playoff game. The loser is eliminated from playoff contention. So yeah, Jacksonville, Tennessee. So yeah, winner go home game on Saturday night. This game should be a Sunday night game, but the reason it's not is because Tennessee and Jacksonville don't bring in ratings like other teams do, which is complete fucking horseshit, but NFL's never fucking consistent with anything. So, fuck it. But yeah, for Tennessee, Malik Willis is not starting this game. It will be Josh Dobbs coming in. But yeah, Jacksonville just had a great run of momentum. I think Jacksonville does pull it off. I think Jacksonville will win this game. I have the Jaguars beating the Titans. I think Jacksonville sweeps Tennessee. I think Tennessee's free-falling. I think Jacksonville is getting hot at the right time. I have Jacksonville beating Tennessee 22-19. I have the Jaguars by 3 over Tennessee, and I think Jacksonville will win the AFC South and will head to the playoffs. I think Jacksonville will do it. I think they will complete the comeback and go from worst to first in 1 year. I think Jacksonville does it and makes the playoffs. So yeah, give me the Jaguars by 3 over Tennessee. And I think Jacksonville wins the AFC South. But yeah, to everybody else, thank you all for playing this year. But now, it's time to get to the games that matter the most this week. So now, starting off, we're going to go to the race for the number 1 seed in the NFC. So for this one, pretty straightforward for Philadelphia. Beat the New York Giants, and the road to Super Bowl 57 goes through you. San Francisco, they need a win and a Philadelphia loss to get the number 1 seed. Dallas Cowboys. And also I have the NFC East included in this too, because if Philadelphia beats the Giants, they also win the NFC East 2-1. Dallas can clinch the division with a win and a Philadelphia loss. But the Cowboys can get the number 1 seed in the NFC with a win plus losses from Philadelphia and San Francisco. So if Dallas is the number 1 seed, God help us all. So for this situation, Philadelphia will play host to the New York Giants. The Dallas Cowboys will play in Washington against the Commanders. And for Washington, Carson Wentz and Heineke are both benched. Sam Howell is getting the start there. And the San Francisco 49ers play host to the Arizona Cardinals. So for this one, also San Francisco clinches the number 2 seed with a win. At least there. So for this one, I think Philadelphia will beat the Giants because I think Jalen Hurts, it looks like Hurts will probably be starting against the Giants. The Giants, there's a good chance the Giants will probably rest their starters for this game. Since the Giants are locked into the 6th seed, they cannot go as any higher as 6 or go lower than 6. They're guaranteed the 6th spot. So the Giants will be playing either Minnesota or San Francisco. Or maybe even Philadelphia, depending on what happens. They'll be playing one of those 3 teams in the wild card round next week. But I think the Eagles will take... So this game matters nothing to the Giants. So I'm going to take Philadelphia in this one, 22-19. I think the Eagles will beat the Giants by 3. And I think the Eagles will clinch the NFC East and the number 1 seed in the NFC. And for the Cowboys and the Commanders, I got Dallas winning that one, 23-20. Washington, not much for Washington to play for. Dallas still have a lot to play for. I got the Cowboys beating the Commanders, 23-20. Dallas by 3 over Washington. And I think Dallas will lock themselves into the 5th seed and will play in Tampa Bay next week. And for the 49ers, I have the 49ers beating the Cardinals. The Cardinals are just a shit-piled mess. And there's a good chance for the Cardinals that Cliff Kingsbury, it's rumored that Kingsbury is probably going to get fired after next Sunday. And the Cardinals have just been a complete fucking mess. The Cardinals have been a disaster. Firing Steve Wilkes did nothing to fix the problem. I got San Francisco beating the Cardinals 23-20. San Francisco by 3. And I think the 49ers will get the number 2 seed. And they'll play whoever gets that 7th seed in the NFC. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Because before we talk about the NFC, we're going to go back to the AFC real quick. Now, for the AFC wildcard, it's a bit complex. New England, it's pretty straightforward. Win, and you're in the playoffs. The Dolphins, they need a win and a Patriots loss to get in. The Pittsburgh Steelers need a win plus a Patriots and Dolphins loss to get in. Now, for Jacksonville is only in this situation if they lose Saturday to the Titans. Because even if Tennessee were to win the AFC South Sunday... on Saturday against Jacksonville could still make it in on wild card. But if Jacksonville was in this running, they would need New England, Miami, and Pittsburgh all to lose. If all 3 of them lose and Jacksonville loses Saturday, Jacksonville gets the final wild card spot. So for this, of course, I have Jacksonville winning, so I do not think Jacksonville will be in the running here. I think it's between New England, Miami, and Pittsburgh for that final spot. So, the New England Patriots will be playing in Buffalo against the Buffalo Bills in their winner game. The Miami Dolphins are playing host to the New York Jets, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing host to the Cleveland Browns. Of course, for the Bills. The Bills still got a lot to play for. Bills still have the race for the AFC number 1 seed. But if the Kansas City locks up the number 1 seed in this game, then Buffalo's guaranteed the number 2 seed, since the Chiefs play on Saturday. So the Bills, there's a chance the Bills could rest their starters in this game. But I think the Bills might still play hard because the Bills, they still have a chance to knock their most hated division rival out of the playoffs. And I think if you have a chance to knock your most hated rival out of the playoffs, you have to take that chance. So I feel like the Bills will play hard, and I have Buffalo beating New England 22-19 in a defensive game. And I think Buffalo wins this one for Damar Hamlin and his family. And the Bills will be playing with a lot of emotion. I have the Bills by 3 points, but I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo blew out New England, to be perfectly honest. And Buffalo just takes all their emotion out on New England. It could happen, but I think the Bills will win in a close one by 3. Now, New York Jets and Miami Dolphins, both teams are playing with backup QBs because for the Jets, Mike White is out, and Joe Flacco is getting the start for this game for the Jets. Miami Dolphins, Bridgewater is injured, so Skylar Thompson's getting the start. And I think that's where the Dolphins are screwed. I think the Dolphins will end their collapse, losing 6 straight to end the season. I have the Jets playing spoiler. And I have the Jets beating the Dolphins 22-21. I have the Jets by 1 single point over the Dolphins. And I think the Dolphins will become the first team in NFL history to finish with a losing record after starting the year 8-3. And I think Miami will end their collapse with a loss, and I think Miami will miss the playoffs. Now for the Pittsburgh Steelers against Cleveland, I think Pittsburgh, the fact that Pittsburgh's here is a miracle, and you know what? I think Pittsburgh can pull it off against Cleveland. I mean, for Cleveland, their goal is to make sure that first-round pick they gave to the Houston Texans lose as much value as possible. Cleveland could have possibly been in the running, but losing Deshaun for 11 games was the nail in their coffin. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Cleveland Browns 21-19, and I think Pittsburgh will get the 7th and final spot over New England and Miami. I think Pittsburgh will make the playoffs. Not only that, I think Mike Tomlin will somehow, someway keep his streak of 16 consecutive seasons of a 500 or better record to open a coaching career at 16 straight seasons. Because the record's currently at 15. If the Steelers win, streak goes to 16 straight seasons. 100% Mike Tomlin definitely has a lucky horseshoe shoved up his ass somewhere. But I think the Steelers will take that lucky golden horseshoe, and I think they will somehow bullshit and back their way into the playoffs by somehow cheating death. I got the Steelers by 2, and I think Pittsburgh is going to get the 7th and final spot into the AFC playoffs. So now, we get to the final thing we're going to talk about in the picks, and that is the NFC wildcard race. 3 teams battling for that final spot in the NFC. So for Green Bay, pretty straightforward. Win and you're in. Detroit needs a win and a Seahawks loss to get in. Seattle needs a win and a Green Bay loss to get in the playoffs. A quick note, Detroit and Green Bay are playing each other in Week 18 on Sunday Night Football in that game. So yeah, there is a chance where Detroit could be eliminated before they even kick off for the Sunday night game. But I believe Detroit's mindset would still be the same way no matter what. And here's a quick note here, another quick note. If Seattle loses this week, then the Sunday night game between Detroit and Green Bay will officially become a win-or-go-home game for the 7th and final spot. So if Seattle loses, then Detroit and Green Bay are playing for the final spot. But if Seattle wins, then Green Bay has to win to get in. But yeah, anyway, Seahawks will play host to the Los Angeles Rams. And of course, Sunday Night Football, the Lions will play against the Packers in Lambeau Field. So, of course, for the Rams, the Rams still got a lot to play for. Like, the Rams, I think, are still going to play the Seahawks hard because the Rams don't have a first-round pick this year. Their first-round pick is property of the Lions. So, for the Rams, they have two goals. Well, the one goal is knock one of your most hated division rivals out of the playoffs. And two, their other goal is to get that first-round pick to give to the Lions to lose as much value as possible. And hey, if you have a chance to knock a division rival out of the playoffs, you got to take that chance. And I wouldn't underestimate Sean McVay against the Seahawks, because Sean McVay is 8-4 against Seattle all the time. Like, hell, for fuck's sakes, Sean McVay even led the Rams to a playoff win in Seattle a couple years ago with John Wolford starting at fucking quarterback. And you know what? I think the Rams can pull it off against Seattle. Like, Seattle has looked kind of faded out as of late because Seattle's dropped 4 of their last 6. I think the Rams could pull it off, and I think the Rams play spoiler. And I think the Rams will beat the Seahawks 24-21. I got the Rams over Seattle by 3. And I think the Rams will play spoiler and end Seattle season. So then that means the Sunday night game, I think the Sunday night game is going to be for that final spot. Detroit versus Green Bay and Lambeau. Winner goes to the playoffs. Loser goes home. But yeah. This one, I think it's gonna, like, this game, like, the media has been hyping up Green Bay all week. Like, the amount of dick riding the media has done on Green Bay is fucking unreal and mind-boggling. Like, it's fucking crazy. The moment Green Bay actually does well, Green Bay then becomes the feel-good story instead of the Lions. Because everyone's talking about, oh, how great Green Bay was because they won 4 straight to be back in here. When instead of Detroit, who started the year 1-6 and won 7 of the last 9 to be in this position. Like, let's be real. It's pretty clear the NFL doesn't want Seattle or Detroit in the playoffs. They want Green Bay in at all costs because Aaron Rodgers brings in ratings. Detroit and Seattle doesn't. Which, yeah, because TV money and all that stupid bullshit. You know what? The NFL does not give zero fucks about feel-good stories. They will push whatever agenda they want. And the NFL's agenda wants Green Bay in. Like, let's be real. The only people that want the Packers in are Packers fans themselves in the NFL media. Nobody else wants the Packers in the playoffs. And why? So Green Bay can lose to San Francisco for a fucking 5th time under Aaron Rodgers? And of course, Rodgers' status is up in the air because there's rumors that Rodgers could possibly retire after this season if Green Bay doesn't make it in. And of course, Detroit making it in would be huge because of the rebuild. And just finishing 9-8 would be huge for them because the Lions haven't had a winning record since 2017, aka Jim Caldwell's final season. And it would be substantial progress the Lions made from where they were a year ago in the rebuild. You know what? And media is not giving Detroit a chance. They've been hyping up Green Bay all week, hyping the living shit out of them. And I've already said before, Green Bay's one of the most overhyped teams in this league. And I'll say it right now. I think if you give Detroit a chance to make the playoffs in a win-and-in situation, I think Detroit can pull it off and capitalize it in Lambeau. I think Detroit can pull it off in Green Bay. The Packers aren't the same scary-ass team they used to be. I think Detroit is the best team in the division in the North. Because they've beaten the Vikings, they've beaten the Bears, they swept the Bears, even they dismantled the Bears last week. The Packers struggled to even beat the Bears a few weeks ago during their comeback. I think Detroit pulls it off, and I think Green Bay's not as scary as the media's hyping them up to be. I have Detroit pulling off an upset of the season. I have Detroit beating Green Bay in Lambeau 21-19. Lions by 2 over the Packers in a defensive game. And I think Detroit will defy the odds and ruin the NFL's agenda by getting the 7th and final playoff spot in the NFC. I mean, I'd be okay with Seattle making it in as long as Green Bay doesn't make it in. Anybody but Green Bay. Because effectively the Lions' playoff destiny is controlled by the Los Angeles Rams. Either A, the Rams will give the Lions a golden opportunity to make the playoffs, or B, the Rams will effectively hand the Lions a top 5 pick in the draft. Like, Like, honestly, if Detroit ends up winning record or whatnot, the season was a success no matter what for the Lions. The playoffs are just a bonus this year. Like, if the Lions don't make the playoffs this year, they 100% will next season. But yeah, I think Detroit will get the 7th and final spot over Green Bay and Seattle. And I think Detroit will get in and will be in the playoffs this year for the first time since 2016. But yeah, anyway, those are my Week 18 picks. Who will be in the playoffs? And who will get sent home? And who will be seated where in the playoffs? As we get ready to see who will be battling for the 57th Lombardi Trophy in Phoenix, Arizona in February. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. I'm out of here. Peace.